Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome you all to the Communication Theories 1 course. This course has a course code of JMC 311 and this is lecture number 11 and today we are going to discuss Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. I'm Anwar Khan, lecturer journalism in Mass Communication Department, Cohort University of Science and Technology. Okay, what are the key points? What are the key elements that we are going to discuss in our today's session? So first of all, we are going to discuss various features of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. Well, these features are very important for the student to understand because it will not only help them to understand Shannon-Weaver's model of communication, but it will also help them to differentiate between Shannon-Weaver's model of communication and previously discussed models that we have already discussed, like Aristotle's model of communication, like Laswell's model of communication. So these features are very important for the students. Then we will look at the information theory, that what do we mean by information theory and what is the relevancy or the association between information theory and Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. But remember that we are not going to discuss information theory in detail because this is not our immediate and ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to discuss Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. So we are going to elaborate information theory. Then we will discuss the various elements of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication, and then finally we will discuss the criticism of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. So these are the discussion points that we are going to elaborate in our today's session, and they are the learning objectives as well as the discussion points. And our students, after attending today's session, should be able to understand these points and they should be able to answer all these points. So let's discuss them in detail. So what are the features of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication? Let's have a look at it. So the very first is that it is an example of linear model of communication. So what does it mean? It means that Shannon-Weaver's model of communication is another example or another model which follows a linear model of communication. Other models which follow linear model of communications include Aristotle's model of communication, Laswell's model of communication, and Shannon-Weaver's model of communication is the third example of a linear model of communication. Well, we have already discussed all these concepts. They are available on the CUS server. Please go there if you have not watched these videos because they are important for the understanding of the coming videos. If you have not watched these videos, then it will be difficult for you to understand the coming lectures. The second feature is that this model is also called as the mother of all models or information theory or Shannon's model. Okay, it is called as the mother of all models because it has extensive usage in different applications, fields and streams. So that is the reason that we call it as the mother of all models. It is also called as information theory, right? So this point will be explained in the very next slide, which is coming after this slide. And this is called as the Shannon's model because Shannon is the main contributor in the development of this model. So that is the reason that it is sometimes called as the Shannon's model. Okay, Claude Elwood Shannon and Warren Weaver, they are both American scientists, mathematicians, and both of them, these are the two presenters of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. And it is very much common to have the names of the presenter or the developer or the inventor to write their names with that very idea or item. And same is the case over here, Shannon-Weaver's model of communication, right? Because it was developed by Shannon and Weaver. Okay, this is basically the main crux of this slide. What happened that actually Shannon wrote an article and the title of the article was A Mathematical Theory of Communication and published this very article in Bell System Technical Journal in 1948, right? So it was a full-fledged research which was conducted by Shannon and wrote this article in 1948 and published it in the Bell System Technical Journal. Well, then what happened in 1949, right? Exactly after 1 year, this article was produced in the form of a book, and the title of the book was slightly changed from A Mathematical Theory to the the mathematical theory. Fine. So it was produced in the form of the book in 1949, and this book is freely available on the internet if you want to search it out. So you can have this book in the form of the PDF. And will what happened that in 1949 it was in co-authored by Warren Weaver, who wrote an introduction for the book of 44 to 50 pages introduction, right? So this is basically the mathematical theory of communication. It is a book which is freely available on the internet. Fine. And this is will actually the reason that we say that this point is basically linked with the Shannon's model, that whenever we say that it is also called as Shannon's model, because this model basically got birth from the article which was written by Shannon in 1948. Okay, then we say that this model is more suitable for the machine communication, right? It is more suitable for the radio communication, for the television communication. It is more suitable for the telegraph communication, and for the human communication, well, it is good. But for the machine communication, it is very much suitable, and it was basically developed for the machine communication, and that is the reason that it is actually a mathematical theory of communication. Well, over here we are not discussing the mathematical aspect of this theory. We are just concerned with the elements and features of the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. We are not supposed to discuss the mathematical calculations and formulas which Shannon and Weaver developed for the noise, for the reduction of the noise, right? Because I mean that is not our concern to discuss the mathematical formulas over here. Okay, then we said that the concept of noise is there. Well, this point is very interesting because we have discussed that all linear models of communication, they do not have noise, but this Shannon-Weaver's model of communication, it has noise. So the element of the noise is there, and basically what happens that they produced or developed another term which is called communication entropy, and this communication entropy is basically for the measurement of the uncertainty in a message, right? So this entropy basically measures the uncertainty in the message, that that how much information is affected or lost due to noise in the channel or in the communication process, right? And then mathematical formulas were developed for calculating this noise and the information or the message which is lost. Fine. So these are some of the features. So what's the association between the information theory and the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication? Let's have a look at it. First of all, the information theory. Information theory basically studies the quantification, the storage, and the communication of information. Fine. So this is basically the measurement of the information. This is basically the storage of the information. This deals with the basically with the communication of the information, and the information and the value of the information has increased in the 21st century, and that is the reason that the 21st century is called as the age of information, and different concepts and terminologies are used like information warfare, information operations, psychological operations, um, hybrid operations, right? So all these terminologies we listen because of the value of this information. And the second point is that you have to keep in mind that it is on the basis of this information, right, that certain operations are initiated, different decisions are taken. It is on the basis of this information. Fine. So the information theory is called information theory because it deals with the value, it deals with the quantification, storage, and communication of information. Okay. And as we have discussed, the value of information has increased in the 21st century, so we can say that I can refer you a book. The title of the book is The Art of War, written by Sun Tzu, who was a Chinese military strategist and a commander. And what happened that he wrote this book in the 6th century BC. So what happens that if you ever have the opportunity of reading this book, read it out, because it is not a very bulky book. It is a very short book of around 100 pages, and it is a very informative book. According to Sun Tzu, he says that you can win thousands of battles against your enemies without even fighting them. So this is very interesting. And according to him, he says that if you know, if you have the information or if you know the propaganda techniques or the persuasive techniques, right? So you can win thousands of battles against your enemies without even fighting them. It is a very lovely book, read it out. Okay, so this information theory is used in the data compression, right? Is used in the communication when missions are sent to the space for new discoveries. Similarly, feasibility of the mobile phones, development of the internet, and several other fields. So what it means? It means that this information used is widely used in our everyday life, and it has great role and relevancy in our everyday life. Fine. So this is the reason that this information theory is very important. So what is the association between the information theory and the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication? So it is very simple, because Shannon was the first person who laid the foundation of the for the information theory, and that is the reason we can call him the founder of the information theory, because his first article, a mathematical theory of communication, which he wrote in 1948, basically laid the foundation for the information theory. And from that time till now, bulk of researches are taking place on the information theory. Fine. So this is basically the reason that we say that there is an association between the information theory and Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. Then elements of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. So first of all, this is basically the model, right? And this model consists of different elements like information source, like message, like transmitter, signal, noise source, received signal, receiver, message, and destination. These are the various elements which come together and make Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. So this is Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. So let's discuss each of the element separately. What do we mean by information source? Information source is basically the sender, right? But Shannon and Weaver, they have used the term information source, so that is the reason that we are going to use the information source term again and again. And this information source is in the form of the sender. Sender is anything which creates the message, which initiates the communication process. Fine. And this can be in the form of a person, it can be in the form of an organization, or anything else. Well, we have discussed sender or the information source quite in detail in the previous lectures, and which is available on the CUS server. So I think we do not need it to repeat it again, because those lectures, if you have taken those lectures, so it would be easy for you people to understand and answer to these three terms. So sender or the information source is basically anything that creates the message or initiates the communication process. Then secondly, we have the transmitter, and this is very interesting. This transmitter, because this transmitter is unavailable in the previous models that we have already discussed, like Aristotle's model of communication, like Laswell's model of communication. We do not find this transmitter over there, and this transmitter is used by Shannon and Weaver in their model. This transmitter is in the form of the encoder. Well, what is the function of this transmitter? The function of this transmitter is to transform or change message into signal, because message cannot travel through the channel or through the medium. So what happens that we need a transmitter to change that very message into suitable signal, and then these signals are capable to move or travel from point A to point B. And we need to keep in mind that this message can be in the form of a written message, it can be in the form of a picture, sound wave, or I mean, etc. Fine. So this message, if we want this message to travel from point A to point B, so it has to be transformed or changed into a signal, and then this signal will move or travel from point A to point B. Well, then we have the channel. Channel is basically the medium through which I mean, message is sent and is received by the receiver. For example, if I'm speaking to my friend on the phone, so the telephone cable or the telephone wire is basically the channel over here. If this wire is broken or is not available, so what will happen? Communication will not take place. The message will not be sent. Message is sent because of the channel, because of the medium that is over there. Fine. Okay, then we have a receiver, and this receiver we have to distinguish it in that this receiver is in the form of the decoder, right? And the function of the receiver or the decoder is inverse of the transmitter. It change the transmitted signal in back into the message, because that message we can understand, we can interpret that very message. We are not in a position to interpret the signal, right? Okay, some of the people, I mean, scientists, they would have suitable facilities of understanding the signal, but for common people, for laymen, they may not have these facilities. So what we require is that a decoder over there, so that they can change the transmitted signal back into message, and that message will be understandable for the receiver, for the destination. So this destination is basically the receiver. But what happens that basically these are the terms which has been used by Shannon and Weaver, receiver and destination, and that is the reason that we are using these terms. So destination is the person for whom the message is designed and sent. Fine, and it is, I hope that it is very much simple. And then lastly we have the noise. Noise is the disturbance or the barrier in the communication. When you are communicating, so if there is anything which disturbs your communication process, so that very thing is basically the noise. And this noise can be in the form of a semantic noise, and can be in the form of the physical noise like a wall, right? Or it can be in any form, and it can be in the form of psychological noise, right? So this noise basically disturbs the message, and because of the noise, our communication is disturbed. Fine. So these are a few of the elements of the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. Okay, what are the examples of the Shannon-Weaver model of communication? So we can give several examples. So we can have the example of the telephone communication. We can have the example of the mobile communication, radio communication, television communication, because all these communication takes place in the same way which has been suggested by Shannon and Weaver. Fine. And we have already discussed that Shannon-Weaver model of communication is for the machine communication. So these are basically the machine, right? It is suitable for the telegraph communication. So these are a few of the examples of the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. Okay, criticism, or what are the demerits of the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication? Well, it is a linear model of communication, and we also studied that all the linear model of communication, they do not have the concept of the feedback. But what happens over here, that we do find feedback in the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. In the beginning, there was no feedback. The element of the feedback was missing, but later on, it was added in the model, right? The element of the feedback was added, and but what happens that again the element of this feedback is insufficient. I mean, again they consider the participant as passive participants. They give more focus or emphasis to the sender. Fine. So this is the reason that we say that this is one of the demerit of the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. And then secondly, we say that this I mean, Shannon-Weaver's model of communication is more suitable or applied for the machine communication, because they basically made this communication for the machine communication to have successful communication on telephone, on telegraph, and similar technologies. It was not meant for the human communication, but later on, okay, we can say that this communication can be used for the human communication, but again not so perfectly as for the I mean machine communication. So these are the two demerits of the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. So these are few of the resources if you want to study and have more understanding of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. So these are the two resources, two websites, and search it out on the Google it, and you will find lots of information about Shannon-Weaver model of communication, right? And this is the second resource. Again, another website. I mean, check it out, and you will have much more information about the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. And thank you very much. This is the end of the lecture. Let me repeat it again, summarize the whole lecture, that what we have discussed in our today's session. We have discussed the features of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. Then we came to know about information theory. We came to know about the association of the information theory with the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. Then we came to know about the elements of Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. We talked about a few of the examples. Then we also studied the demerits or the weaknesses of the Shannon-Weaver's model of communication. I hope that it would be easy for you people. See you in the next lecture. Till that, stay home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.